In this video, I'm going to be challenging myself to build something I've never done before, and we are going to see a whole new MOC from start to finish. But before we start, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe if you want to see more MOC videos like this. Some members of my LUG are going to be displaying at an event coming up soon, and I guess it's going to be Star Wars night. So everyone's bringing Star Wars MOCs, and I have never done a Star Wars MOC, at least in the last decade.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you my LEGO base MOC.
So obviously I decided not to participate. Just kidding, of course I signed up. But now I need to build something Star Wars. The table space I asked for was 1 foot, so that's the constraint I'm working with. So whatever it is, it can't be that big, which is good because I only have a few weeks until it's time to display. Originally I thought I could do something with a natural landscape since that's a little bit more familiar to me. But with Star Wars, there's honestly way too many crazy landscapes and colors to choose from, so decision fatigue was a real thing. Just a little overwhelming trying to figure out what in the world I'm gonna build in the first place. And of course I could just do like Endor or Kashyyyk because those are where a lot of the parts that I have would probably work for, but that's just not really that fun. And if I'm doing Star Wars, I want to do something that's different, something out there, something that's just totally out of the norm from what I usually build. Then I realized the biggest constraint was the minifigures that I have to work with. When looking around, I realized that I had a bunch of the 501st Clone Troopers just laying around from the recent battle pack. So that meant I'm either doing something from the Clone Wars or the most tragic scene in film history.
Execute Order 66.
Order 66. And you know what? Structures and science fiction are two of my least favorite and least comfortable building scenarios, so at least this is going to be a good challenge. Immediately I remembered the library in the second movie where Obi-Wan went to look for Kamino, but Count Dooku or someone had erased it from the files, and he needed a young Padawan to educate him on how this could possibly be.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
Plus, I remember this epic scene of Anakin walking in with these 501st Clone Troopers. So if you combine the library with that march sequence, that's basically what this MOC is going to be. I didn't look at any reference images from the movie except for the statue at the front, which I have no idea how I'm going to build. So if this thing looks completely inaccurate, I really don't care. I just wanted to build something that looked cool and told a story. Plus, maybe this is happening at some other part of the Jedi Temple that we don't get to see in the movie. The stand I made is directly inspired from the Tranquil Garden set, which I recently bought and took back apart so my wife could build it. I feel like every good MOC needs a solid display stand. At least one that looks nice. This build was pretty fun because I got to use a bunch of pieces that I had gotten off the pab wall but didn't quite know what I'd use them for. These transparent blue bricks, all these light bluish gray pieces, and of course the tan tiles, which I'm going to be using for the floors just because if it was all gray, that would be a little bit too much of one color, and we need to add a little bit of a pop to make it more interesting. So for now, let's go ahead and tile off the ground. Now with all the tiling done, we can go ahead and start working on these front two pedestals where the statues are going to be. And now we can start working on the back wall first with this archway where we are going to have some pillars on either side of it. And then for this section next to it, I really wanted to go crazy with the detailing and greebling just to kind of give it that Star Wars feel. And in this space on the left, I wanted to add a Star Wars window, so that's what I'm doing with all these clips and hinges, and just getting those little triangular shapes to make it look like it does in all of the Star Wars films and shows. And of course we need to add a lamp and then add some crates and storage just in the corner over here, just to give it a little bit more life. With all these details added, now we can finally start working on one of the more substantial parts of this whole build with the 2 pillars that we're going to have on either side of this archway. The design is fairly straightforward, just using a bunch of tiles and these snot bricks in the middle. I used a few modified tiles to make it look a little bit more like it's cracked. I'm putting these backwards masonry bricks along the bottom, and then for the library files themselves, since they have a bluish hint in the movie, I decided to just stack a bunch of these bricks that I got off the pab wall, and I think it's pretty effective. In the middle, I do have a broken portion where it maybe got shot out or something like that, and that's what the blue tiles are that I put on the floor earlier. And then to top it off, I have some nice blue tile detailing and then a turntable on top of that, just so we can make sure to get this whole assembly on an angle. And now with 2 of these, we can go ahead and add them to the build. And now I'm going to put it all together and attach it all nice and firmly with this section here. I'm using these handlebar pieces for some railing, and I think that looks pretty nice. Because of those turntables I added, these are attached really securely, but they can still be rotated for the angle that I want. So now this whole thing is done, except for 2 things: the minifigures and those statues that I have been putting off because I don't know how I'm gonna do those. Okay, so I didn't really show it, but I did play around with the statues for a little while and was able to come up with something that I actually think looks pretty good. I even asked what my wife thought, and she could tell that it was a statue of a hooded figure, so that's about all I could ask for. With this really small scale, it's always really tough to get a lot of detail, but I think I was able to accomplish it pretty well. And now at last, with those done, it's finally time to add some minifigures. I obviously also had to add a few Jedi, so let's go ahead and do that too. And because a big part of the tragedy is what happens with the younglings, I decided to add one of them too. And of course, one more Jedi Knight fending off the troopers and protecting the youngling. And now finally this whole thing is done. I like that it's kind of like a diorama MOC, but it's got some height to it, which I think is really nice. It tells a story, which is always great, and I love how this thing just kind of came together without even really looking at any specific reference images. But for now, I'm going to be done talking and let you finish off this video with some images of the MOC. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.